Hello, our next presenter is Ernest Mass, President and Managing Director of Cygnus Metals, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol CYGGF, as well as the TSXV under the symbol CYG. Welcome, Ernest.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. Also like to mention we're traded on the ASX as CY5. First thing to discuss is Cygnus came about from a merger between Doré Copper Mining Corp and Cygnus Metals, dual listed and including here on the OTC. The company came together December 31st, 2004, and by coming together, we've created a critical metals company with principally our projects in the province of Quebec, copper gold project around Chibougamau, Quebec, and then 3 different areas of lithium projects in what's called the James Bay region of Quebec, about 200 to 300 kilometers north of the copper gold project. We have coverage, institutional coverage with a number of firms, Paradigm, Canaccord, Burroughs Hartley's, and Shaw Partners. So on our share register, the majority of the shareholders are Australian, but our 2 biggest shareholders were shareholders from Doré Copper based in North America. The value proposition of the company is pretty simple. First of all, we have our Chibougamau Camp project, where we have resources of 3.4 million tons at 3% copper equivalent indicated, and inferred resources of over 7 million tons at 3.8% copper equivalent. And when I say copper equivalent, it's just copper and gold. We haven't tabulated the silver, and we do have some, and it's going to increase the copper equivalent grade a bit. So we have 2 very, let's call it in the news metals, and 2 very solid metals being really focused on copper and gold, and the split between the copper and gold right now is about 85-15 between the 2 of them. The company has tremendous growth opportunity. The Chibougamau Camp had 13 or 17 mines past producing. As Doré Copper, we did touch on one of the deposits, and we expanded the resource Corner Bay from 1.5 million tons to 8.6 million tons. We did some other exploration work, and with the new Cygnus geology team coming in, we've identified numerous other targets, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit of time. Our team has a strong track record in copper and in precious metals. The Cygnus company is actually part of a group which includes Bellevue Gold, Andean Silver, and Firefly Metals. You may be familiar with those companies listed on the TSX, with Firefly being listed on the ASX, with Firefly also being listed on the TSX. And we've worked on lots of historic projects as well, including the Cobre Panama mine, which is one of the biggest copper mines currently in the world, but unfortunately currently stopped. One of the reasons why the merger occurred is there's better access to capital in the Australian market, and that has allowed the company with the Chibougamau asset to really be able to explore and be able to show a pathway forward for growth. So the main focus of this presentation will be on the Chibougamau copper project. The Chibougamau camp is a historical camp with 53.5 million tons mined at over 3% copper equivalent. The historical production was actually 50% copper and 50% gold at today's prices. There was a number of very large mines, Copper Rand mine and the Portage and Henderson mines, both of them over 15 million tons, and again, both of them with that 3% copper equivalent. Numerous other mines were in operation, and we do feel that applying additional exploration effort onto the properties will allow us to continue to identify more resources. The structure of the camp is such that there's a pluton called the CYGGF pluton, and on the northern side, there's a series of about 16 past producing mines over 18 kilometers of strike. And on the southern side, and that's where we have the Corner Bay deposit, which currently has 8.6 million tons at over 3% copper equivalent. Majority of the metal value is in copper. Southern flank has been very, let's call it very unexplored. And so we have some tremendous opportunity here. In the photo, that's hole 20-17, which we drilled in February 2017. And it was about 8.6 meters at over 9% copper. So a really stellar hole, and that's part of our resource. And occasionally, or quite often, we come up with these intercepts well over 5% copper as we continue to drill the deposit. Now, as Doré Copper, we did scan a lot of historical drawings, over 100,000 drawings, and I've heard this theme over the past few days is that you need the data in order to understand what you have. As Doré Copper, we didn't have the time to go over all those drawings, and so currently Cygnus is employing an AI technology to actually look at all the previous scans and start adding that information into our database. So we're really becoming data rich, and we're going to generate really a lot of targets based on this scanning or this compilation of over 140,000 drawings, and it's done automatically, so it can be done. It would have taken our team decades to be able to do that. So having the ability to use this AI technology to do that compilation is quite important. This shows the company's land position. As I mentioned, we're close to the town of CYGGF. That's where our mill is. The mill is the only base metal mill, say, within over 200 kilometers. And so we have the ability potentially to bring in third-party feeds or acquire other properties in the area in order to feed. We have 282 square kilometers of land. As Cygnus, we did stake additional land on the southern flank, giving us some additional exploration opportunity. And about 60 kilometers south of CYGGF is the Joman district. And the Joman's a past producing gold mine, produced over 1 million ounces of gold at a grade of over 8 grams per ton. And last year we did consolidate. We did pick up a joint venture with the Quebec government, increasing our land position to over 6,300 hectares. And we have a lot of exploration opportunities there as well. So we have, in some ways, a real two-pronged approach where we do have the ability to create a business now. However, we've decided to refocus on exploration in terms of trying to make the project better. And this is one of the examples of, we'll call it a new area that we're currently exploring. This is an area called Goldeneye, previously known as Doré Ramp. This area was drilled with about 90 different drill holes from surface and from an underground decline. The grades of this area are a little different than the rest of the camp in that we have about 1% copper and about 4 grams per ton gold. So it's principally a gold deposit. The previous company, which ironically was an Australian company, Western Mining, owned the camp in the early 1990s and decided to leave the camp. And they did the double decline, which extends for about 1.6 kilometers in length, and it's at a depth of about 100 meters. And they left the camp, and since that time, very little work had been done on this area. We did some drilling there in 2022, 2023, but much further to the south, to the west and at depth. And as Cygnus, we have drilled this deposit over the winter, and we recently came up with we had a result at about 400 meters deep, very significant in that it represents a down dip extension of the ore body, and the intercept 7.4 meters at 0.9% copper, 4.6 grams per ton gold, and 5.6 grams per ton silver. And so we're really excited about this opportunity, as it's only located 3 kilometers from the mill. And given today's gold price, this could really give our project additional gold units compared to what we have currently at Corner Bay and at Devlin. There was VG in the sample, and I called some of the old geologists who worked on this deposit in the late 80s and early 90s, and we checked all the logs, and we didn't see any references to visible gold in the previous drilling. And as I mentioned, there was about 90 holes there, and some of the holes that were drilled there previously were extremely high grade. And surprisingly, no one had seen visible gold there. So it's possible that at this 400-meter level and below, we have something new happening. But we're really excited with that result. And so we should be able to come up with a maiden mineral resource on this deposit, given that we already have 90 drill holes in it. And it's going to fit very well into our hub and spoke, being located only 3 kilometers from the mill. We have infrastructure in place. We have the old Copper Rand mill. This mill last operated in 2008, had a capacity of about 900,000 tons per year, which is close to 3,000 tons per day. In 2022, when we finished the PEA, we actually spent about $1.5 million in the mill, upgrading the mill in different aspects. We changed out the lighting and putting new LED lights. We repaired the roof, and we removed some of the older equipment. And as you can see, the equipment that stayed, we ended up painting again. We've rebuilt our core shack. We connected the plant, or reconnected the plant, to the Quebec grid. So we are connected with this facility to the Quebec grid. And as you know, Quebec has some of the least expensive power in the world, and we're currently connected to the grid. Having a mill will definitely reduce the capital cost of our project. Not only is there a mill, but there's a previous tailings facility that we can use. And we think the economics for us will be approximately an additional $100 million of value to the company by utilizing this mill. It's also going to make the permitting process much simpler. So since doing that PEA in 2022, in 2023, we redid some flotation tests. We confirmed the use of ore sorting. Ore sorting is very strategic with this type of project because it minimizes the amount of material going to the mill and therefore minimizes the amount of tailings being produced. It also produces a low-grade waste product that's already crushed at the mine site, which we can then use for backfilling. The other thing that we confirmed with our metallurgical test work is that the concentrate produced is extremely clean. The arsenic concentration in the concentrates produced was about 2 to 3 ppm. Must be some of the cleanest concentrates in the world. And we also confirmed the silver recoveries. As I mentioned, silver was not in the original resource statements or the PEA, and we're going to include that in the next study that we're going to do. We've got an extremely good relationship with the local communities, and there's really 2 communities. There's the town of Chibougamau, and the town of Chibougamau was built in the 1950s, really on the back of our mines. And when they built the mine in the town, they did it in such a way as that mine is about, or the mill is about 10 kilometers away from the town. The town is laid out in a really modern grid, and 90% of the people in the town actually live in a single dwelling house. So it's a very prosperous town. The OTCQB First Nation, their main village is located about 50 kilometers from Chibougamau, and it's a relatively new community, with the community built brand new in the 1980s. There's a photo of me there, and we're actually in the OTCQB Cultural Center. It's a museum. It was designed by Douglas Cardinal, who's a very famous Canadian architect. And if you're ever in that part of the world, I highly recommend visiting this cultural center because it goes through the history of the Cree in northern Quebec, and it's a spectacular looking building. It's not the it's not like what you would see in the Museum of Natural History here, but it's actually quite nice. The area we're in is the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. We're on the eastern side of it. There's lots of potential opportunity for consolidation in the area. Where we are, in this area, there's probably maybe half a dozen copper-based projects, and then there's innumerable amounts of gold projects. And as I mentioned, we have the only mill in that 250-kilometer radius, and therefore I expect our business to start with our hub and spoke project, which is the main project being the Corner Bay mine, and then we have other deposits to add in. But eventually, we're going to be able to have other deposits feed the mill, and we're looking for a very long mine life once we get going. So the opportunity that we have in front of us is we do have drill rigs on the ground now. We've had at least one drill turning since the merger was completed. We've been focused on 3 different areas. One area is the Corner Bay deposit, where there's some expansionary drilling and infill drilling. In January, we made an announcement of an expansionary hole 250 meters to the east of the main deposit. It was 7.3 meters at about 4.2% copper equivalent. It was quite a shallow hole, and we did follow up on it. We should have additional resources from that area. We drilled the Goldeneye deposit, in about 300-400 meters to the south of Goldeneye is the Colleen deposit, where we had an intercept of 8.3 meters at 2.3% copper equivalent. But then on top of that, really the most exciting thing is this data compilation that we're doing, looking at the 16 past producing mines, taking in that information from the old scans and incorporating it into our geological models and coming up with some new drill targets that we're going to have. In the background, we continue to do project development. We submitted, in Quebec, you first submit a project notification to the authorities. They come back to you with a project directive, so we know exactly what we need to do to get our ESIA permit. A big part of that are baseline studies, and we're currently working on the baseline studies. It's not really newsworthy, but we're chipping away at it, and obviously we're slowly working towards completing the project so that we can come to an investment decision. In terms of the company, when we did the merger, we took 3 directors from Cygnus, 3 directors from Doré Copper, and we put them into one. So of our directors, one's United States domiciled, 3 are Canadian domiciled, and 2 are Australian domiciled, 3 from Cygnus and 3 from Doré Copper. I stayed on as the president and managing director. David Southam stayed on as the executive chairman. So it's been a very successful merger, working together. The reason why the companies came together was because there was a very compatible outlook on the mining industry and what we can do with these assets and these projects. I did mention we have some lithium ground. Given where the lithium price is now, we all agreed that we're going to put that on the back burner. But there was some very interesting lithium activity in our region where Rio Tinto bought Arcadian, and that's just a little to the north of our Pontax deposit, where we have 10 million tons over 1% lithium oxide. And so that's the presentation. I'll take any questions. I can see I'm a little ahead of schedule, which probably helps a little bit with the proceedings of the day.
Could you discuss a little bit about your summer drill program, please?
Yeah, so for the summer drill program, the focus is at Corner Bay. We're doing infill drilling, plus we have a number of targets that we've identified with downhole EM, and we'll be following up on those as well. We did a couple of surface EM surveys during the spring season, and we're probably going to generate a couple of targets there. In one case, one of the targets is beside a past producing mine where there was about 1 million tons mined at 2% copper and 2 grams per ton gold. And then the other area is just a little bit to the south of the Portage Henderson, where there was 15 million tons of ore mined at about 1.5% copper and probably 3 grams gold. So we'll have numerous exploration opportunities. Plus, at the Joman property, we're going to do a high-density aeromag survey. The area where we're at, everything is structurally controlled, and we think that aeromag is going to identify other structures around Joman. And we do have some other targets about 1 kilometer north of Joman, where there's the Norhart and Curry Mills deposits. These have never had a resource on it, and our internal team have done some back-of-the-envelope calculations, and we feel that with a couple of extra holes, we can actually come up with a new resource there in that area, and that resource will principally be gold. As a reminder, the Joman deposit produced 1 million ounces of gold at around 8 grams per ton, and we're expecting, I'd say, similar grades.
About how many meters do you estimate that you're going to be encompassing in that drill program for the summer?
I think it's about 10,000 meters for this. Most of it is financed, and again, with our major shareholders behind us, we don't anticipate a problem with getting to that finance.
Can you highlight 1 or 2, perhaps 3, of distinct benefits from the merger and what you've seen since the merger? Pluses?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of the benefits from the merger, one of the big benefits from the merger is having smart geologists have a fresh eye look at your project. And that is useful no matter who you are, which company you are, whether you're BHP, Rio Tinto, or a junior company. Having a fresh eye look by new geologists is really useful. Second is the access to the Australian market and the increased liquidity that we're getting from the Australian market. We trade on the Canadian market, we're trading 20,000 to 30,000 shares a day average. In the Australian market, 500,000 to 1 million. And when we have news, it goes into the multi-millions. And third is just having the two companies together has allowed us to kind of pull together big investors. So Doré Copper had 2 large investors, and on the Cygnus side, they had some large investors too. So getting together just made both companies stronger.
Ernest, you mentioned that using AI tools, you're been able to scan old data or drawings, and then you're using that to identify new targets as well. I was curious if you had used those results on any of the targets you're going to be aiming to drill this summer, and 2, what kind of quality control do you do, because scans are scans, and if you're scanning old PDFs, I would imagine you'd like to do some quality control on what's been scanned results that you're getting.
Answer to your first part of the question is we've just started the process, so it hasn't generated any of the targets yet, but we are concentrating the efforts on one of the past producing mines called Cedar Bay. Cedar Bay has a current resource of indicated and inferred 360,000 tons. It's not big, and it's quite deep, but the grades are 1.8% copper and 8.6 grams per ton gold. And really, it could be a game changer for the company in terms of putting new holes in there and extending that current resource. So that's going to be our first target. In terms of quality control, after the scan is done, we get some results, and then the geologists will look at those results and really just kind of give it call it a logic test to see if it makes sense. So that's how we're starting. And if the process is successful at Cedar Bay, we're going to then apply it probably to a different area, most likely maybe the Jacqueline deposit or the Copper Cliff deposit. So the problem we have in some ways is that we have 16 past producing mines. So I've been kind of flying out names left, right, and center. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep track of all the different deposits. And so we're going through everything systematically. The new geology team we have of about 4 or 5 really sharp geologists are just full on 24/7, looking at deposits, calling myself and our general manager at the site. What can you tell me about this? We said, well, we know it, we don't know. And if we don't know it, we call one of the former geologists who worked on the site to give us further insight. So it's a really interesting time in the company in terms of generating new ideas.
Okay, I think we're out of time. Thank you, Ernie.